Good morning. This is the Asylum Answers Show. Hey, JDISUSHF. That's how I like to start the show. Good to see you on TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook. We're live. This is the Asylum Answers Show, and I'm Brian Manning. I'm an asylum lawyer. I used to be an asylum officer with the government, but now, as an asylum lawyer, well, my law firm, we help immigrants all over the country to secure their future in America through asylum. We help immigrants all over the country. I want to know what you want to know about winning asylum in the United States. So leave your questions in the comments. But actually, before you start leaving the questions, say hello. Say hi. Let me know where you're watching from today. I love to see where you guys are at. And I want to know what you want to know. But say hi. Let me know where you're watching from. Hey, good morning. YouTube, TikTok, LinkedIn, Facebook. Hey, Queen Bee, glad to have you here. Kuldeep, glad you're here on TikTok. Upset. Hope you're not upset right now, but I'm glad you're here at the Asylum Answer Show on TikTok. Hey, Jack Bauer, thanks for being here. REM, hey, REM, hi, good to see you. YouTube, hello, sound off. Let me know where you're watching from today. I'm Brian Manning, and I want to answer your questions about winning asylum in America. I'm an asylum lawyer. I used to be an asylum officer with the government, but now, as a lawyer, my law firm helps immigrants all over the country to secure their future in America through asylum. Look, I'm going to answer your questions in just a second, but first, um, I want to tell you about good news that we got a couple days ago. It's kind of rare that we get to tell you about good news in the asylum space. The government proposed changes to how appeals work. I'm talking right now about appeals from an immigration judge's decision. If you're in immigration court and you get an order of deportation, you can appeal, right? You can get like a review by a higher up body. That appeal goes to something called the BIA, which stands for Board of Immigration Appeals, BIA. And there was a proposal made recently by the Department of Homeland Security and Department of Justice, Department of Justice, that would change the rules about how appeals work to make it much harder to have an effective appeal to win. There was several different changes that were being proposed. A couple of the most damaging ones for immigrants would be that um, they wouldn't even give full consideration to every single case. Instead, when you appeal, there would be a panel that looks at it, just the notice of appeal, not like your full legal brief, just the notice of appeal, and says and would take a vote about whether they want to um, actually consider the case fully, meaning like really read your legal brief and read the government's legal brief and make a decision or write an opinion. And if they didn't vote to do that, then your case would get dismissed without ever getting full consideration, which is what would happen, I'm sure, to the overwhelming majority of cases, meaning most cases would never get full consideration. So that was one proposal. Another proposal was to change the time during which you can appeal from 30 days after the judge's removal order down to just 10 days. Absolutely not enough time. Not enough time for someone to hire an attorney and put together a good notice of appeal, the document that you submit that says that you're appealing and has to explain why. It has to list some of the reasons and give like at least a kind of an overview of what you think the judge did wrong in the case, that was an error such that you should win your case. Now, these two changes, along with some other ones, would have been devastating. Like they would be devastating for immigrants. Um, they got blocked. Okay, for now. For now. We don't know if these rule changes that I just talked about, along with some other ones, are eventually going to go into place. They may still. They may still. But for now, they got blocked by a judge because the government didn't follow the proper process to try to make these changes, to introduce them. They have to follow certain rules if they want to make rule changes, and they didn't do it in this case. And so the federal judge blocked the implementation of these rule changes. It's kind of on a technicality. They didn't say, oh, what you want to do is just illegal substantively. Rather, it was kind of a technicality related to the process, which means the Department of Justice can and probably will go back and try to do it the right way to implement changes, which means that these proposed changes very well could eventually come into effect. It'll probably be at least a few months from now. Um, and they might get blocked. They might get blocked like substantively, but they might come in to play. And if they do come into play, it's going to be bad. People are going to have a really hard time appealing. Um, but even if they do go into effect, look, not all hope is lost because there's another level of appeal above the BIA, after the BIA, to a federal court of appeals, where you're much more likely to get a fair hearing. You're more likely to get a more sophisticated uh, judge or panel looking at your case, and more likely to get an objective analysis of your situation than you are at the BIA. So even if these BIA rules, new rules, come into effect, it is going to be bad. It's going to be bad, but it's not like all hope is lost because you can still appeal up to the Court of Appeals as long as you get the BIA appeal done in time, which is going to be hard if it really is just a 10-day limit. But look, I'm choosing to focus right now on the good news, which was that at least for now, this proposal was blocked by a federal court. Look, guys, time and again, federal judges have stepped in to stop the overreach and to stop the abuse by the Trump administration. They're basically our last line of defense against some really bad things happening in our society and specifically with respect to our immigration system. All right. Um, that is what I wanted to tell you. Now I want to answer your questions. Let me know in the comments. Say hello. Let me know where you're watching from. And let me know in the comments what questions you have. What do you want to know about winning asylum in the United States? For those who just joined recently, I'm Brian Manning. I'm an asylum lawyer. I used to be an asylum officer with the government. I was an asylum officer at the USCIS Houston Asylum Office. And before that, I was a diplomat. But now I have a law firm and we help immigrants all over the country to secure their future in America through asylum. If you want to talk with us to see if we think we might be able to help you and have us explain how, please do a consultation. It all starts with a consultation. You can schedule that consultation at winasylum.com. WINASYLUM.com. Again, that's winasylum.com. WINASYLUM.com. Okay. Let's go to the questions. Let me know what questions you have about winning asylum in the United States. Asylum pending since 2017. We have biometrics appointments this month for the second time. Is that normal? It's not uncommon. I don't think you need to worry. I mean, look, anytime you have contact with federal immigration authorities, there's a little bit of risk, but it's not uncommon. It's not uncommon. It happens. Okay. So it doesn't mean that you're going to lose your case. It's pretty common. Okay. All right. Nice. When will the decision pause end for asylum? Sonique wants to know. I don't know. I'm pretty hopeful though that it's going to be soon. I'm pretty we've received some correspondence, some messages from what's called the U.S. Attorney's Office for our mandamus cases, when we sue the government to forced interviews. And we've received some messages from them that make me think that it's about to be lifted, that there's a pretty decent chance that the pause will end soon. So I'm kind of hopeful. I'm kind of hopeful that it will be very soon, but I don't know for sure. I don't know. It might not, but I'm kind of hopeful. Okay. All right, Zuzu, I did my asylum interview 2 months ago, but didn't get any results. Yeah, if it's an asylum interview, there's a pause right now on the issuance of those decisions, but you'll get it eventually, okay? You're welcome, Sonique. What is the wait time for the EAD? Yeah, if the new rules go into effect, the rules that the government wants to have, if they go into effect, it will change the wait time for first-time applicants for an EAD when you're applying based on a pending asylum case. It'll change it such that instead of 180 days to be eligible, it'll be a full year to be eligible. So that's obviously going to be very bad for asylum seekers. All right. What was that? Hold on. Taking on someone's filed after 1 year due to change. Are you willing to? Millie Panther wants to know, are you willing to take on someone that filed after 1 year due to changed circumstances? Good question. The question is this: does my law firm take on asylum cases where we'd be helping the person to file after 1 year in the United States? Because remember, there's a rule that says, well, normally you got to apply in your first year. If you don't apply in your first year, you'll get denied unless you qualify for an exception. There's two general categories of exceptions called the changed circumstances exception and the extraordinary circumstances exception. And the answer is, yeah, we help people all the time apply for asylum despite that they are applying outside of the 1 year deadline, because look, these exceptions often apply. We're very often able to make compelling and ultimately successful arguments that our client qualifies for one of these two categories of exceptions, sometimes both, but usually just one or the other. So yeah, we want to talk with you. If you're applying outside of 1 year, or you're thinking about applying outside of 1 year, do talk with an asylum lawyer first, okay, to make sure it makes sense. But ultimately, yeah, we do decide that there's a real chance of success with establishing one of these exceptions. And so, yeah, we can help people. We want to talk through it with you. And it all starts in a consultation. You can schedule that consultation at winasylum.com. 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 All right. All right. Nice. Megan Ashley, thanks for joining us on YouTube. I answered that question a couple minutes ago. I hope you heard that. Okay. Cardine wants to know, a 25-year-old girl was born with facial deformities, blind eye, left lip, and most people in their country were harassing them. Is it a strong case? And they also Cardine added that country refused to issue an integrated services card, stating that there was no disability. Is it good evidence the government's refusing to protect her? That's a tough one. If someone has a disability or some kind of characteristic that causes them to be harassed, if the harassment is very severe, it's got to be really severe. It's got to really affect your life. Then there may be a chance that this could possibly be viable. We have seen cases with disability where someone has a disability be viable. This would fit. Remember, you got to show not just that you have been persecuted or at risk of persecution, but also that persecution is motivated by the fact that you possess one of the 5 protected characteristics under U.S. asylum law. Those are your race, religion, nationality, political opinion, or something called membership in a particular social group. In this kind of case, like having a disability or a deformity, that would, if anything, it would fit under that 5th one, that something called membership in a particular social group. But we would have to study the person's situation, analyze their particular situation, and also look at the country conditions information from that particular country to see how strong we think the argument can be about whether they meet the requirements for trying to show that this persecution, first of all, that the harm is severe enough to count as persecution, and second, that they do qualify as a member of a particular social group, which is an analysis that we have to do based on the country conditions information applied to the law around this question of what counts as a particular social group. Okay. So the bottom line is maybe it might work, but we'd have to really dig into it. And we would start in a consultation, which you can schedule at winasylum.com, WINASYLUM.com, winasylum.com. I'm Brian Manning. I'm an asylum lawyer, and my law firm helps immigrants all over the country to secure their future in America through asylum. Okay. Is it true that birth or marriage certificates issued in English must have a date of issuance at least 2 years after your entry into the U.S., or they may suspect there was an intention to apply for asylum? No, I wouldn't say that. I would say that's not true. That's not true. All right. Is it true that we must go to an American licensed doctor in the U.S. to write a report about FGM instead of a doctor from an Arab country? Otherwise, they may think we have intent of asylum before U.S. entry. It's okay to have an intent of applying for asylum before you enter. It's okay in terms of your asylum case. Like, it's not looked at as a negative or bad thing, the fact that you intended to apply for asylum before you came here. It will get you denied a visa if you're going to apply for a visa and the visa officer, which I used to be, by the way, in addition to being an asylum officer, I used to be a visa officer. If the visa officer thinks that you want to go apply for asylum, they won't give you a tourist visa. They won't give you a student visa. But the fact that you clearly, it becomes known to the asylum officer that you intended to apply for asylum before you left your country, that's actually a positive thing. It's a good thing. You want the asylum officer to believe that, you're fleeing persecution and that you were fleeing your country with the intention of trying to get out of there so you could be safe and going to seek safety somewhere else. Okay. So it's definitely not a bad thing. The fact that they think, oh, this person was clearly trying to, planning to seek asylum before they ever left their country. That's actually a good thing. That's a positive thing for your case. Okay. All right. Well, let me go back to the particular question though about um, license. Whether it's better to have if you have some kind of medical report like about FGM or anything else, whether it's better to have that done by like a doctor in your home country or a medical professional here in the United States. Let me think about this. I would say it's okay. Either one is fine. It's okay for it to be in your home country. It's okay. I mean, look, maybe there's some officers that give a little more weight to something from a US based health professional, but not much. Not much, I don't think. So I think it's okay to have it be someone back in your home country. All right. Hey, sir, I need information, says Mubashir Latif. What do you need? Do you have a question or do you want to talk with us in a consultation? Um, nice. Hello, Brian. Thank you so much for this incredible information, says Jaya Nanyanga. How long does it usually take for a law firm to submit asylum application? It's been over months since I started the process. Any advice? Are you one of our clients, Jaya, or are you talking about another law firm? With us, it takes us about a month, if usually about 4 weeks, if our client is responsive. Okay, if the client is quick in responding to us and giving us things we ask for, and helping, being a collaborative partner and getting the application together, because we can't do it by ourselves. It would be immigration fraud if we just made up stuff. That's bad. We wouldn't do that. We have to we have to get information from you is the bottom line. We have to collaborate with you to get the information from you that goes in your application. Okay. Because it needs to all be true, correct, not in any way misleading. And that process of getting the information and making sure that we understand your case deeply, and then making sure that everything we're representing is true and correct, that process takes a little bit of time. But if our client is engaged and responsive and quick in getting back with us, then yeah, we can get this application done in a few weeks. Okay. What's our phone number? Call us. I'm going to put in the chat 713-909-0401. I'm going to put it in the chat. I'm going to put it on the screen. You can call us. Look, the easiest way, honestly, to get started or to do a consultation with us, to get it set up, is to do it online. Go to winasylum.com, WINASYLUM.com, winasylum.com. That's where you can schedule a consultation, okay, to talk with one of our asylum professionals. Look, we want to get to know you. We want to understand your case, understand your situation, and then we're going to tell you whether we think we're in a position to help you. If we think that we are, we're going to explain how, like concretely, exactly what steps we're going to take to give you the best possible chance to maximize your chances for securing your future in America through asylum. Okay. Okay. I'm not one of your clients, says Jaya Nanyanga, but it's been over 3 months. Basically, so Jaya Nanyanga is saying they have another lawyer, not my law firm, and they've been working with that law firm for 3 months, and they still haven't gotten the asylum application done yet. Jayan says, I've given them all the information, plus I'm applying after a year. I'm nervous. Yeah, it's not a good sign, honestly. To be honest with you, it's not a good sign that, if you've been responsive and giving them what they need, and it's been over 3 months and they haven't gotten the application filed, and you're filing after 1 year, it's not a good sign, to be honest with you. You could consider changing lawyers, to be honest with you. But I wish you all the best, whatever you decide. Okay. All right. All right. Mubashiri Latif says, I came here on a K1 visa. My visa is still valid, but my fiance refused to marry me. We were in a relationship for 20 years. After getting here, I found that he has someone else. It's a same-sex relationship. So yeah, I mean, look, I don't see a question in there, but if your question is, what you can do. Well, I mean, my question for you is, are you afraid of being harmed in your country? That I ask us, we do asylum. We help people get asylum, but asylum is only for people who fear being harmed in their country. It's not like just nothing else is working out or looks viable, so I guess I'll apply for asylum. That's not good. Don't do that. That would be immigration fraud. Asylum is only for people who truly fear being harmed in their country. So if you fear being harmed in your country, then yeah, we should talk about, we should talk in detail about it, and we can get to know you, understand your situation, ask you a lot of questions, get a lot of information, and then give you uh, feedback on what we think, whether we think you have a chance, how strong that chance might be for success, and what exactly we would do to pursue your case. Okay. PLADSE says, "You look AI." G&G. What does G&G stand for? I don't know what that means, but you look AI. No, this is not AI. Nope. I have good lighting. Maybe that's what makes it look AI. I've used on like some TikTok shorts or whatever, or YouTube shorts. I've tried using an AI avatar, and like it's I don't really like it. It's not good enough yet to like really pass the test and not feel awkward. Maybe someday, but not yet. It's not good enough yet for me. All right. Oh, this is interesting. Okiwan says, any updates on the asylum re-review? There's no way they manually re-interview every single refugee asylum grant from Biden's term. Yeah, that's a good question. Honestly, I hadn't really thought about this in a while because no, I've not seen or heard anything about re-interviews. The government, for those of you who are wondering what we're talking about, the government announced a while ago that like they were gonna do re-interviews for a bunch of people who won asylum during Biden's term or who came as refugees during Biden's term. Basically, they're looking for an excuse to try to strip asylum from people, to take it away. But I have not seen it happen yet. I haven't seen anything about it. We have not gotten calls being like, I got a re-interview notice, help. So I've not seen my other lawyer friends talking about it either. So I don't think it's really been implemented yet, but it still may be. Okay. The advice, guys, is this: if you get an interview note, if you've already won asylum or came here as a refugee, and you get a letter saying we're going to do another interview of you, come to an asylum interview, that is a problem. It means they're basically looking for excuses to try to take away your asylum status. You need to reach out immediately to an asylum lawyer. Okay. Okay. Mubashi says, I can't go back because of same-sex reason in Pakistan. Okay, yeah. I mean, yeah, look, if you're a member of the LGBTQ plus community and you're from Pakistan and you're afraid of being harmed because of that, yeah, that could definitely potentially be a viable asylum case. We should talk about it, okay? We want to talk in a consultation to get more information and tell you what we think. Go to winasylum.com, WINASYLUM.com. I hope you'll do that now, okay? Mubashir Latif. Mubashir, I hope you'll do that now. I'm going to check our consultations calendar after this call, and I want to see you on there, all right? I hope you'll talk with us. All right. What is the format for writing a witness letter as evidence without notarization? Should it have a specific way? Should it start with the oath? It doesn't really need to take any particular format. It just needs to have the person's full name. It needs to have, I think it does look a little bit better if it has their address and phone number on it. But it's not like required. There's no required format. Okay. There's no required format at all. All right. But substantively, it does need to say how they know you. Like how they know you or how they, it needs to explain what their basis is for the stuff that they're saying, like how they know the facts that they're talking about in their declaration. Okay. All right. Brian, Mohammed wants to know, can you please talk about the new appeal process after March 9th? Well, it got blocked. I was saying this at the beginning of this live that the proposal to change how appeals work, appeals of immigration court decisions, got blocked. So we're still in the same way it's been for a long time. No rule changes yet. It might still happen. The proposed changes might still happen, but it'll probably be at least a few months from now if it does. Okay, so that's good news. It's good news. If it does happen, I mean, it's going to be tough. The changes envisaged a shortening the window during which you can apply after a deportation order from 30 days down to just 10 days. In a lot of cases, won't even get full consideration. They'll just get dismissed without really like a full look at the case. So it's yeah, it'll be pretty bad, but there will still be hope for success because at the next level up, at the federal court of appeals level, a lot of those cases I think will get overturned. They get denied by the BIA. All right. All right. Um, all right. Okay. This is a good one. Jay Delart wants to know, does the lack of status of an applicant's partner, like they have a pending DACA case, affect the applicant's chances of approval? Good question. The question is this. Well, the fact that your partner or your spouse doesn't have valid immigration status, will that affect your asylum case? You're applying for asylum, your spouse maybe doesn't have status. Uh, is that a negative factor for you? No, no, the officer doesn't really care about that. They just want to know whether you, as the principal applicant or the applicant, whether you meet all the strict asylum eligibility requirements. Your partner or your spouse's status doesn't really matter. Doesn't affect at all your chances for asylum success. All right. Uh, Sam says, "Hi, sir. Big hello to you and your viewers. Hey, uh, nice. Yep. Thank you. Thank you for being here. All right, TikTok. How are you? Sorry, I ignored you guys for a while. Nice, nice. Uh, do you have a chance to win asylum for being gay from a Muslim country? Axil wants to know. I mean, generally speaking, there's probably at least some chance for success, but we really got to talk through it. Okay, we have to get to know you and understand your particular facts, your situation, and know what country you're from, and to be able to really tell you with any kind of confidence how strong of a case we think that you might have. Okay, and it all starts with a consultation. We do that in the context of what we call an asylum strategy session. And look, our asylum strategy session, our consultation process is different than what you see at other law firms. Other law firms will tell you, yeah, call us and we'll talk for 15 minutes. It'll be fine. Don't worry. And then you call and they'll just let you talk for a couple minutes. And they'll be like, yeah, we'll help you. And you're like, how? And they're like, don't worry. We'll just do law. We'll help you, because they don't have an actual strategy. They don't have an actual theory about how to put together a case. They don't have a plan for this. Okay. We have actual strategies and theories and plans. Okay, we have what we call an asylum action plan, which is our customizable and customized and proprietary approach to building and presenting an asylum case. It's informed by my experience of 11 years working for the government's two main agencies for asylum and refugee matters. Okay, I worked for 11 years for the government's two main agencies for asylum and refugee matters, and now I've had a law firm that focuses on asylum for 6 years. Okay, so we've got this down pretty well. I think we've figured out pretty well how to make this work. Okay. Um, and look, if you've been waiting for multiple years for an asylum interview, I want to talk. We should talk about suing the government to force your asylum interview, because the sooner you get your interview, the better your chances for success. I say this with high confidence based on my experience on the other side of the desk and now as an asylum lawyer. The sooner you get your interview, the better your chances for success. And to push that case forward, we use a mandamus lawsuit. Look, before I say this, I want to say that past results don't guarantee future results. Past performance doesn't guarantee future results, okay? Having said that, I want to tell you, we filed hundreds of these lawsuits with a success rate of over 99%. Okay? Which means it works really, really well. We've figured out, I think, how to do it really well. Our clients love it because it works. Okay. The sooner you get your interview, the better your chances for success. And also, our clients tell us that once they get this behind them, they get this done, they feel like a huge weight has just been lifted off of their shoulders because, you're living in limbo, right? You're probably stressed about this fact that you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know how your case is going to go and whether you're going to be safe and whether you're going to be able to stay here and build the life here that you dream of building. Getting certainty about your future by finally getting your interview and winning your case, that's a huge relief to our clients. They tell us that all the time, okay? They get confidence, they get certainty about their future, they get peace of mind. And the way that we push these cases forward is through a mandamus lawsuit, okay? It works really well. In fact, it works so well that for qualified applicants, we actually offer a money back guarantee. That's how confident we are that we can make this work for qualified applicants is we offer a money back guarantee. You don't find this at other law firms, okay? We're kind of weird in that we offer this money back guarantee, but we do it, okay? If you want to learn more about this, go to winasylum.com, WINASYLUM.com, and schedule a consultation with us, okay? winasylum.com, WINASYLUM.com. What do you think about the outcome possibilities of an appeal based on ACA compared to an appeal based on the individual hearing? An appeal based on the ACA has a higher chance for success. Probably not so much at the BIA, but at the next level above that with the Federal Court of Appeals, there's probably a decent chance for success because it's just not very legally defensible. Okay, it's just not very these asylum cooperative agreements are just not very defensible. In fact, we defeated one of these the other day at immigration court. We didn't even have to appeal it. We defeated it in immigration court. So it's possible. It's possible to win this argument. Okay. But you gotta be ready. You gotta come prepared to argue about why the ACA doesn't apply to you or why it shouldn't be used against you. Okay. By the way, for those of you who are wondering, we're talking about something called a motion to pretermit. The government, the lawyers for the Department of Homeland Security, they, in a lot of immigration court cases, are filing this motion where they say, Judge, we don't think we should even do this case here. You shouldn't even let them have a hearing and testify and present their case. Instead, we want you to terminate this case and we're going to deport them to another country. We're going to deport them to a third country, not their home country, but rather a country with which we have an agreement whereby this other country will agree to take in asylum seekers and let them supposedly pursue asylum there. In exchange, we give them cash. We pay them to take in our asylum seekers. And a lot of judges are granting these such that people are being sent to countries they've never been to in their lives, countries that might not actually in reality have a well-functioning and fair, legitimate asylum system, and countries that are in some cases sending people directly back to the countries they originally fled, where they've been persecuted. It's called a motion to pretermit or pretermit, depending on how you want to pronounce it. And it's bad, but it's not impossible to defeat this. It's not impossible to overcome it. We recently had success with this where we wrote a legal brief where we just explained all the ways that this was illegal and wrong and that our client shouldn't be subjected to it, and we won. Okay. It's not impossible. It's hard to win these, but it's not impossible. If this happens, guys, if you're in immigration court proceedings and the judge says, "Oh, I have this motion from the government. The DHS lawyer wants to pretermit your case. They want to send you somewhere else." You only have you can. What do you think about that? Or if they say you have a few days to like respond in writing, you need to. Well, if they don't immediately give you the option of having some time to respond in writing, you need to ask for it. You need to say, Judge, can you please not make a decision on this right now? Instead, could you please give me some days or hopefully a couple of weeks to respond in writing to this motion? Because I want to hire a lawyer to help me respond to this. Okay. And then you go and immediately hire a lawyer immediately. Okay. To respond to this, because this is not something that you want to try to do on your own. You need a lawyer to help you with this, in my opinion. Okay. All right. Nice. Okay, cool. Uh, all right. What do you want to know about winning asylum in the United States? 23 drone view. Hey, good to see you on YouTube. Haven't seen you on here in a while. BIA appeal for 10 days is dismissed by judge. How it helps asylum seekers. Well, yeah, it was the rule change, the proposed rule change was blocked from going into effect. So now people still have 30 days to appeal from a BIA decision and, or excuse me, 30 days to appeal to the BIA from an immigration judge's decision. And there were other things in that proposal that were going to be bad for asylum seekers too, but they're currently blocked. So that's good. All right. Nice. Do you do interview help without hiring? Yeah. Oh, for sure. Look, uh, let me address it like this. The question, thanks, Miguel. The question is this: is there something that my law firm can do to help you that doesn't involve hiring us for full scale representation, which, yeah, is costly. That's expensive, right? Yes, and we only started offering this a few months ago, and we did it for this reason because I realized that there's a lot of people out there who need help, but they're just not in a position to hire us for full scale representation because it's expensive. Like often it's a reason of, it's a factor of money, but sometimes it's time. Sometimes there's just not enough time to get our help with like the full case because someone will call us and say, Brian, my interview's in 10 days. Can you help me? And we're like, no, we don't have time to do declaration, evidence, legal brief, and all that. There's just no time. Finally, I realized, well, you know what? We can do something. Even if we don't have time to do the paperwork, we have time to do the preparation. And guess what? That is the most important thing. I'm telling you, our clients will tell you that the preparation that we did with them, the practice interview, the mock interview, and the follow on debrief session, our clients will tell you, I think, that that is the most important part of their case, the most helpful thing that we did, the most powerful thing that we did to help them win their case. Okay. And so we offer this interview preparation now as a standalone service, meaning you don't have to hire us for like full scale representation, which means that we can offer this standalone interview preparation service at a fraction of the cost of what it normally would be to hire us. If you hired us from the beginning of your affirmative asylum case with USCIS to work with you from beginning to end as your lawyers, it's like $10,000. If you want our help just with the asylum interview preparation, it's only $3,000. Okay, it's actually less. It's technically $2,997. But I mean, look, it's a fraction of the cost of normal full scale representation, right? It's something that is within reach for most people. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying that $3,000 is nothing. I know it's a lot of money, but it is something that's just much more attainable for people. And the good news is it's the most important thing. It's much more important. The interview preparation that we do is more important and more helpful to your case than the documents by far, by far. Okay. Um, yeah, it's the number one thing you can do to maximize your chances for asylum success. We call it the mock asylum interview experience, or for short, just the experience. If you want to learn more about it, go to winasylum.com, WINASYLUM.com, winasylum.com. Speaking of interviews coming up, are there any of you, let me know in the comments, do you have an interview already scheduled? Does anyone have an asylum interview or a court immigration hearing um, scheduled for like the next couple months? I'd be curious to know in the comments, when is it and where is it? What city? All right. Let me know in the comments. I'm curious to see. All right. Do we have current San Francisco asylum office approval rates? No, the asylum office hasn't released statistics in several years, so no, we don't have current rates. But I'm pretty confident that San Francisco remains either the highest approval rate or at least one of the highest approval rates in the country. So it's a good place to be comparatively. I mean, look, it's still low. It's still well under 50%. I think that my guess, my assumption is that the average asylum approval rate at asylum offices, like nationwide, is probably less than 15% approval, probably 12, 13, something like that is my guess based on, I think the last time they uh, published statistics about this was several years ago. And I think it was like 23 or 24% approval rate, something like that on average nationwide. And I am fairly certain that it's much lower now. Okay. So it's tough, but it's not impossible. Look, we've kept winning cases. We won cases under Trump 1. We won cases under Biden. We've won cases under Trump 2.0. We're going to keep winning cases. It's not impossible. It's hard, but it's not impossible. But the sooner you get your interview, the better your chances for success. If you've been thinking about applying, you should talk with a lawyer now about applying. If you've been waiting for several years, you should talk with a lawyer about possibly suing the government with a mandamus lawsuit to force your interview, to move your case forward as quickly as possible. When should I apply for a green card if I haven't approved asylum? I've been getting mixed information. Some say applying right away causes more delays, while others say it does not. I think you should apply as soon as possible. I think you should apply immediately after winning asylum to get in the queue. Okay? That's what I think. I have my hearing in a month. My lawyer is suggesting to push it. He suggests that I better wait for my fiance. He's on H-1B visa, and by beginning of 2027, he expects to apply for an EB-2 visa. That sounds incredibly speculative, Christian. Well, first of all, you don't usually have the option of pushing a hearing. Do you mean asylum interview, or do you mean hearing in immigration court? Look, can you clarify, Christian? Do you mean asylum interview with USCIS or immigration court hearing? In any event, well, in immigration court, you don't usually have an option. At the asylum office, you can usually ask one time to say, oh, can we reschedule this? Usually they'll say yes one time. But I wouldn't do that. I would not reschedule. What you're talking about, a fiance on an H-1B expecting to apply for EB. No, that's like, you're not even married, first of all. So like, you don't qualify for anything based on them. Even if you get married, this stuff sounds incredibly speculative, such that it might not ever come to pass. And what you have right now is an asylum case. And unless you have an incredibly weak case, then I would say that the best thing to do is move forward with your asylum case as quickly as possible. The sooner you get your interview, the better your chances for success. I am very much against delaying your asylum case. I am for moving your case forward as quickly as possible, because the sooner you get your interview and decision, the better your chances for success. Okay? That's what I think. Is forced abortion considered persecution? Yes, absolutely. Yeah. There's actually a specific law that says that is considered persecution on account of a protected ground. Like, it's like one of the it's like, in fact, I think it's the only thing that I can think of where there's like a very like specific law that says this particular thing is something that can get you asylum. Like that's the thing. That's it. And so, yeah, if that happened to you, you have or someone you love, then I'm really sorry to hear that. First of all, the good news is that, yeah, it can be a good case. Doesn't mean you're going to win for sure. It's still, I promise you, it is still possible to lose that case. But it's at least a good basis, and you've got a chance. All right. Imran says, thanks for your valuable suggestions. In my written statement, I didn't mention how and what types of threats he told me verbally over the phone. In my oral statement, can I explain in details? Good question. The question is this: can you and should you give more detail during your testimony at your asylum interview about specific facts that you left out, you didn't mention in your declaration? So this is very common, right? You know, in the application answers and then in a declaration, that people sometimes don't include a lot of detail. They don't include maybe even some very important facts or details that they bring up in their testimony on the day of their asylum interview. The answer is yes, you need to talk, you need to testify about everything that is relevant to your case, everything that is necessary to respond to a question that you're asked, and that is relevant to establishing your asylum eligibility. Yes, you should talk about it, even though you didn't include it in your declaration. Okay. You do need to be ready, though, for the officer to ask you, well, why didn't you mention this in your declaration? And you need to think ahead of time about, why. What was your mindset at the time? Did you think about it? Did you decide not to for some reason? If so, what was the reason you decided not to include these details? Did you just not know that, did you just think, oh, I don't need to include details? I mean, whatever. You need to tell the truth. But you need to think ahead of time about What was your thought process? Why didn't you include it? Why are you now saying things that weren't included in your declaration? And the truth is, yes, it can cause some skepticism, but if you have a reasonable explanation, I think it's best for your case to always be open and honest and transparent. And if there's things that are relevant to your case, then yeah, you should talk about them, even though you didn't include them in your declaration. Okay. Uh, nice. Does having Sanover wants to know, does having a U.S. citizen child have any positive impact on the parent's asylum case? Uh, if the child also has threat, not formally, not technically, not formally. It's relevant enough though that just psychologically, in the judge's mind, that it could have an impact. So yes, I would bring that up. Okay. All right. Um, but like not technically, it doesn't technically like, oh, that's a positive factor. Like on the analysis, no, it doesn't. Uh, it doesn't technically help. Okay. Nice. All right. For those who just joined recently, this is the Asylum Answer Show. I'm Brian Manning. I used to be an asylum officer with the government, but now I'm an asylum lawyer. My law firm helps immigrants all over the country to secure their future in America through asylum. Nice. Nice. Yes. Good to see you. Uh, what if your mom beat you in the past for being gay? Can that count as persecution? Well, first of all, if that happened to you, I'm really, really sorry to hear that. That's tough. That's sad. I'm sorry you had to go through that. Um, yeah, yeah. Look, if you were mistreated, um, and physically harmed because you're gay, that could be the basis for a strong asylum case, definitely. Especially if you were physically harmed as like a child when you were young, that's looked upon as especially bad, especially egregious, um, and that helps your asylum claim. Yeah. All right. Nice, nice. How much does the interview training cost? Um, $3,000. Okay, technically $2,997, just under 3,000. I'm talking about what we call our mock asylum interview experience. This is our preparation service that we offer to help you prepare for your asylum interview. Preparation for your asylum interview, the practice is the most important part of your entire case. What you say at your interview matters so much more than your documents, okay? And you can practice. You can improve your performance by practicing, but you got to do it the right way. And based on my experience of 11 years working for the government's two main agencies for asylum and refugee matters, doing a mock interview, a full-scale practice interview, is by far the best way to prepare. Okay, we do this like this. We do a mock interview, a full-scale practice interview, where you experience with a lawyer basically everything you're going to experience during the real interview. Okay. That way, when you go into the real interview, you're going to feel so much more confident and prepared because look, you already know what kind of questions you're going to get. You know what it feels like to be in this position. You know what the different procedures are for the day. All of this just makes it feel more natural. Okay. Like you've been there and done that, and that makes you more comfortable. It makes you helps you to do a better job. Okay. So we do a mock interview, but then we do a second practice session that we call our debrief session, where we give you feedback on how you did and how you did in telling your story. We, um, we don't tell you what to say. It's your story. You got to tell it in your own words, but we do find ways to help show you, how to communicate clearly, right? How to tell your story in a clear and impactful way. Okay. Um, and we give you all of our best asylum tips. So it's two practice sessions, but there's more. We also give you the recordings of those practice sessions. You get both the video recording and audio recordings of the practice sessions so that you can keep benefiting from them. You can keep studying, keep reviewing all the way until the day of your real interview. Okay. And that's going to be immensely helpful. And we also give you access to a couple of trainings that I did personally, that I created about like tutorials for preparing for the asylum interview that aren't available anywhere else. Look, most of my best stuff is on YouTube. By the way, TikTok, go to YouTube. That's where my best stuff is, most of it. The YouTube channel is called Political Asylum Lawyers, which is also the name of our law firm. And that's most of my best stuff is there. But there's a couple trainings that are not on YouTube or anywhere else. You can only get them by working with us for your asylum interview preparation. So you get access to all that stuff for under $3,000. It's the best thing that I think there is available to help someone maximize their chances for asylum success. Okay. If you want to talk with us about it and see if you qualify to work with us with this service, let's do a consultation. Go to winasylum.com, WINASYLUM.com, winasylum.com. Very kind of you. Kevin says, thanks so much. You're the best on the app and in the asylum field. Very nice. Thank you. I appreciate that. Very kind of you. Kevin, we should talk. Go to winasylum.com and schedule a consultation. Schedule a consultation with one of my colleagues, okay? WINASYLUM.com. Winasylum.com. Yep. All right. Okay. What is the success rate for Arlington Asylum Office? Bushu DeBella wants to know. I don't know the actual number because USCIS hasn't produced statistics in years, but it's a pretty good office comparatively. It's kind of the second tier. Usually the California offices, meaning San Francisco and Los Angeles, tend to have the higher approval rates, and there's kind of a drop off. And then like Arlington, Chicago, and Newark, not New York, but Newark, New Jersey. Those three kind of are lumped together usually traditionally as kind of like the next best tier after the California offices. So it's a pretty good one. Comparatively, it's still low. It's still, the approval rate's still probably 15%, 18%, 20%, something like that. So it's still very low, but it's better. It's a lot better than Houston, Miami, New York, Boston. Those approval rates, those offices I just listed are probably in the single digits. They're probably 7, 8, 9, 10%. Okay. All right, Kevin. Good. Thanks. I want to see you on our calendar. Okay. Go schedule it right now. Go to winasylum.com. There's no need to wait till this is over. Go to WINASYLUM.com, winasylum.com. It's super quick and easy to schedule. It's not hard at all. Go to winasylum.com to schedule that consultation. We want to talk. All right. Nice. TikTok. Hello. How long will it take to get asylum interview now? Look, the question is this: how long can you expect to wait for your asylum interview if you're applying like now? It's going to happen fast, probably. Look, most people who are applying now are getting their interviews right away. I'm talking about like a few weeks, 3 to 6 weeks. And this is surprising, right? Because you all know of people in your communities who've been waiting for years, for 4 years, 7 years, 10 years for an interview. So you might be thinking, well, if I apply now, I'm sure I'll be like them and I'll just have to wait several years. No, you're probably going to get your interview right away. It's kind of a long, complicated backstory about, why it is that way, but it is, okay? Most people who are applying now are getting their interviews right away. So you got to be ready. I hope you're working with a lawyer to help you with this, to put together your case on paper and to fight your case on paper. We do this through what we call an asylum roadmap. That's the packet that we work to put together to persuade the officer so that when you walk into your interview, the officer is already thinking, hey, based on the documents in this case, I understand the case already, and I can already see how the person meets the asylum eligibility requirements. That's what we want to establish in the officer's mind ahead of time before you ever set foot in that office. Okay. That's the paperwork. But even more important is the preparation. The practice that we do with our clients for the interview is the most important part by far. Okay. But we got to do this quickly. When people are getting their interviews within a few weeks after applying, we got to go fast. Okay. And I hope you have a lawyer helping you with that. All right. Deborah Sole says, I just made a consultation appointment with your firm. Awesome. Glad to hear it. Guys, if you think you might want help with an asylum case, let's talk about it. Be like Deborah. Deborah on YouTube just said she made an appointment, a consultation. You should do that too. It's super quick and easy to get set up at winasylum.com, 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 winasylum.com. All right. I have a pending change of status from B2 to F1. I was subjected to FGM. I'm really sorry to hear that, Fanta. To apply for asylum, do I have to withdraw the pending F1 student visa or keep both? Again, I'm really sorry to hear what you've been through. The question is this. Let's say you've got tourist status, you've applied for a change of status to get F1 student status, but you're interested in applying for asylum. If you applied for asylum, would you have to withdraw that application to change to F1 status? What happens to that? What happens to your tourist status? The answer is no, you don't have to withdraw anything. You don't automatically lose your tourist status. You wouldn't automatically lose your student, like have your change of status request denied. It is possible. It is possible that your request to change status could be denied because you apply for asylum. Um, it's also possible that if it's granted, it could at some point be revoked because you apply for asylum. But chances of that rarely happens. It rarely happens. Most people who apply for asylum, it never affects their student status. Okay. In any event, with the asylum application, um, you know, 6 months after applying for asylum, you can get your work permit, which is usually okay, makes it okay to, to go to any school you want, and then also you can work legally once you have that work permit as well. So those are benefits that come with applying for asylum. Like if you said you've been subjected to FGM, I'm sorry to hear that. That's really tough. You probably have a pretty decent asylum case then, okay? And if you're afraid of, being harmed in your country, you don't want to go back to that where this thing happened. You probably have a pretty strong case. We should talk about it, okay? If that helps you to achieve your immigration objectives, or let me rephrase. That sounds like it could be a good route to achieve your immigration objectives. If those objectives involve not having to go back to your country and staying here, we should talk. Okay, go to winasylum.com, WINASYLUM.com. All right. Nice. Okay, Deborah, or no, sorry, not Deborah. Let's start with, I am going to address Deborah's comment, but Humble Heart says they're one of our clients. Humble Heart says that they filed, but no interview yet. There's an update of the conditions in my country. What do I do? Don't worry, we're gonna address that in our filing that we make before the interview, where we submit what's called our asylum roadmap, where we work with our clients on the declaration, evidence, legal brief that we write, and country conditions information that we supply the reports for, but we analyze it in our legal brief. We'll do all that before the interview, and that will incorporate the changes in the country. It will address as necessary any changes in country conditions. Okay, so the bottom line is, like, don't worry about it. We're on it. We will deal with it, and take care of it. We got you. All right. Deborah says, I pray you guys can help me with my asylum case. I hope so too. It all starts with a consultation. Fanta says, thank you, Brian. I'll schedule a consultation. Awesome. Both of you. I hope you both do it. You don't have to wait. You can go right now to winasylum.com, WINASYLUM.com, and schedule that consultation now. Okay. WINASYLUM.com, winasylum.com. Guys, that's going to be it for today. I'm Brian Manning, and my law firm helps immigrants all over the country. Doesn't matter where you live. We're based in Texas, but it doesn't matter. We help people all over the country to secure their future in America through asylum. So if you want to see if we might be in a position to help you, please, let's talk. Go to winasylum.com, WINASYLUM.com. As always, look, it really is a pleasure to be here and to support you in your asylum journey. So thanks for being here. We'll see you next time. Have a great day, and stay safe out there. All right. Take care, guys.